I'm Andrea Giles, and you're listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, episode number 58, Self-Compassion. Hello, and welcome to the Heal from Infidelity podcast, where courageous women learn not only to heal from their spouse's betrayal, but to become the boldest, truest, most decisive, and confident versions of themselves ever. If you know there's more for you than the life you're currently living, but don't quite know how to get there, you are in the right place. Stick around to learn how to create a life that will knock your own socks off. Is it possible? It is, and I'm here to show you how. I'm your host, Andrea Giles. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Hi, friends. I hope that you are doing well this week. You know, I had a completely different episode in mind when I went to record, and some things have happened for me in the last little bit that have inspired me to take a different route and record this one instead. So some things have happened in my life in just the last little bit that have inspired this, that have made me think about it. And I thought maybe it's something that the rest of you need as well. So as you all know, I am having a baby. It's been a huge curveball. Reality is starting to set in that come December, I will have a newborn and I will have a little one. And for quite some time, I have had kids in school. I have had just different kinds of freedom that I have enjoyed, if I'm being honest. And so it's been a lot for me to wrap my head around, just starting over. Also this year, we've had so much change. 2 of our children got married. One of my daughters left last fall on a mission for our church. She's gone for a full 18 months. She's just reached the halfway point a little bit ago, but she's out the door. I had one daughter just move out about 3 weeks ago. She graduated and moved out. And so there are just lots of things that are changing. And for me, myself, I'm changing, and not only just physically as my baby grows, but I feel like all of these things have presented opportunities of new growth to me, new areas that I am open to and ready to lean into and grow. Okay. Over this past weekend, I had some things happen, nothing major, just some little things happen that kind of took me back to some times in my life where I felt abandoned, or where I felt alone, or where I felt like no one cared about some of the things that I cared about as much as me, and felt really alone in that. And over the weekend, I really struggled. And there were some tears and some times that I just really was trying to understand what was going on in my brain. And yesterday I met with my own coach. So yes, the coach has a coach. I love having my own coach because it allows me to set down my coach hat and be the student and learn and listen, and to let other people look inside my brain and see things that I can't see. Okay. So when I first got on, I told her a little bit about some of the circumstances, and then she asked me some questions. And I've been thinking a lot about these questions. Okay. I'm going to ask you, is this response due to conditioning? That's question number 1. Question number 2, is this a trauma response? And question number 3, why does it make perfect sense that you feel the way you do and responded in this way? And with all 3 of those questions, I really had to pause and really think and take my brain there. And in all 3, with the first question, is this response due to conditioning? It was a resounding yes. My brain took me back to times in my life when I was young and felt dismissed, or felt like I wasn't allowed to really have an opinion, things like that. Is this a trauma response? Yes. I felt my body kind of shut down like it does when we're having a trauma response. And I kind of judged myself for it a little bit because nothing really big happened. It was so interesting to watch my brain. It was just this little thing that happened. And my brain went there, and it was so interesting. And so I went into judgment a little bit, like, what is going on? And then why does it make perfect sense that you feel the way you do and responded in this way? And that one was a little bit harder for me to find. But when I did find it, I felt relief. I felt relief. And so what I realized when I was being coached is that I was missing self-compassion. Once I remembered, I relaxed, I realized what was happening and that I was okay. Nothing had gone wrong. Remembering self-compassion helped me ground back into myself, stop judging myself, and move forward. So I decided to talk to you today about self-compassion because maybe you can relate to that. So, what is self-compassion? We're going to dive into that. But first, what's compassion? I went and looked it up. And the definition of compassion is a feeling of deep sympathy and sorrow for another who is stricken by misfortune, accompanied by a strong desire to alleviate the suffering. So essentially, we're having a thought about a person, we are feeling something, and then we are following it up by loving action. I really loved that definition. I think it sums up compassion really well. Feeling compassion compels us to do something, right? Now, I know for many of you listening, compassion comes easily for you. It might be a gift that you have, that it's easy for you. In fact, some of you may judge yourselves because you are able to have sympathy and compassion for your spouse who was unfaithful and then use it against yourself. We judge how easy it is for us to show them compassion and understanding and make it mean that we are somehow weak. My question for you is, what if it's a strength? What if you being able to go to a place of compassion is a strength? So now let's talk about self-compassion. Why is self-compassion so much harder? I'm a coach. I talk about these things all the time, and I had to be reminded by another coach that I was not practicing self-compassion. I want to go into detail today about why this is so hard for so many of us and how you can help yourself. And it's been really interesting for me to prepare this episode because it's been very helpful to me as well and reminding me of the areas where I can grow, in the areas where I can show myself more compassion. So when I decided to do this episode instead of the one I had originally planned, I went and read articles. I watched a TED Talk about the subject. I thought about it a lot, why my brain is so resistant to go there. And I found some really awesome thoughts and answers that I want to share with you. Okay. So the best article that I found that I want to reference to today, it was really good. You can go look it up if you like. It was in Psychology Today, written by Dr. Bernard Golden. The name of the article is What Makes Self-Compassion Such a Hard Sell? Okay, so in this article by Dr. Golden, he refers to some other experts in the field. One of them, her name is Kristen Neff, and she is a psychologist and the author of a book called Self-Compassion. And she is one of the people that I watched a TED Talk by. She talked about the differences between self-compassion and self-esteem, and they are different. And she is kind of known as the go-to expert around self-compassion because she has studied it so intensively. Okay. So in this article where he quotes her, these are some of the key components to self-compassion. Okay. Kindness with oneself. Self-compassion involves being kind to oneself with regard to one's mind and body, whether supporting well-being or in response to suffering. Okay. Recognizing and honoring one's humanity is recognizing that our humanity involves being aware that all of us suffer. All of us have flaws and make mistakes. Additionally, recognizing our humanity further helps us to remember that we are not alone. Mindfulness. Mindfulness helps us to not over-identify with our suffering. So it can have a little separation between us and our suffering. It also encompasses non-judgment. As described by Neff, Over-identification occurs when our emotions overwhelm us and cloud our perception of what's really occurring. And in this article, there's this great quote. It says, "A moment of self-compassion can change your entire day. A string of such moments can change the course of your life." That is Christopher K. Germer. So, what are the challenges to self-compassion? It was so interesting for me to read this, and I've known about compassion and self-compassion quite a bit, and I talk about it a lot in my coaching. I talk about compassion a lot, but I learned some things and I want to share them with you, okay? So in this article, it talks about how this is such a hard thing to master. Self-compassion can be really, really hard to master. And some people become very uneasy, and some people even experience a kind of dissociation with themselves when they're trying to be compassionate with themselves. It's like they step away and unengage and like, I'm not doing it, like a separation from self. Okay. Some people just kind of go numb. Some people judge themselves and say, I need to stop. I need to stop crying. This is very uncomfortable, and try to get out of leaning into self-compassion. Okay. Now, Christopher Germer is another therapist that is referred to in this article. And he says that it's not so much that people are uncomfortable with self-compassion, it's more that self-compassion opens the heart to receive it. And when we open our heart to receive it, we might be opening our heart to some pain that may be dormant. It may awake the suffering of old wounds that have not been fully acknowledged, grieved, or mourned. Can you understand why that would feel a little bit threatening? He says it may rekindle hurt and sadness regarding unsatisfied longings for compassion in earlier years. It may compete with our view that self-compassion is weak, or can lead to a slippery slope of being too forgiving of ourselves, kind of going to a place where we're like, whatever, anything goes, and like not holding ourselves accountable and like just taking what is and not trying to move forward through things. Okay. It may be experienced as threatening to an inner dialogue founded on tough love, one that denies and minimizes the need for such compassion. So if our dialogue is all about like perfectionism and pushing through, and other people can do that but not you, other people can make mistakes and can falter and can this and that, but not you, you should be better. Well, guess what? Self-compassion is going to butt right up against that, right? It's going to be hard for us to give ourselves compassion if we are hard on ourselves and our brain. Self-compassion may be experienced as being selfish or self-absorbed. Some individuals may feel undeserving of self-compassion. And as a consequence of these various factors, attempts to evoke self-compassion can arouse shame, which is a tendency to want to hide or disappear. Okay. So from reading those things and sharing those things, I want you to pay attention to where you land. Do any of those resonate with you? Do any of them feel particularly difficult? I definitely resonated with some more than others. For sure, for me, I have worked a lot through perfectionism, but I still have things that pop up sometimes, thinking that, well, I'm a coach, so I should be further along, I should be better, things like that. And also the part about rekindling hurt and sadness. And sometimes my brain really doesn't want to go there, just like the rest of you, right? We don't necessarily want to jump into those things sometimes. So it can be our body and brain's way of self-protecting to choose suffering and to choose meanness and to choose judgment over experiencing the pain of stepping into self-compassion and looking at why we might be hurting. And there probably was a time in our life where we decided to shut down to our pain, to kind of go into survival mode. But the problem with this is that we're shutting down opportunities to heal at a deeper level, which self-compassion can do, okay? So as you are working through your own challenges and trying to practice self-compassion, I'm going to give you some things to look for to expand your own self-compassion, okay? I want you to practice looking at the discomfort of turning up the volume of the inner dialogue to identify the specific challenges to self-compassion. Okay, look at them and almost like objectively, like, how interesting. It makes sense. Okay, it makes sense that you would react this way when you look at the whole picture, when you look at the whole backstory. Okay. 2, take time to explore that backstory and work on grieving and mourning the wounds associated with that backstory. Now, that might be the hardest part because we are intentionally opening things up to feel, right? Number 3, slowly introduce self-compassion in incremental steps, making room for acceptance. Number 4, be fully present and compassionate with the protective value served by resisting self-compassion. Okay, notice it. You can have compassion around resisting self-compassion, right? Like, of course, my brain is fighting against this. It doesn't want to feel uncomfortable, right? You can understand why our brain is doing that. Okay. Now, one of the exercises in this article that was given for building this practice of self-compassion, I really, really liked, and I want to share it with you. Okay. So what they recommend is scanning back through your life and looking at people who demonstrated compassion to you, people that you could feel their compassion, or it can be like a movie figure, or it can be like some wise person that you don't know personally, but that you can imagine is someone that would look at you in a certain way and speak to you in a certain way and offer you compassion. Okay. I want you to gather a room of these people, and you're in the middle of the room. They're all around you. Okay. I want you to look at them, look into their eyes. I imagine my mom and my sister, they're for sure in my circle. I'm looking at them, and all I see is so much love. There's not an ounce of judgment. There's not an ounce of you should be better, you should do better. All I can see is love. That's it. Okay. I want you to do this too. I want you to imagine this circle of people. They all love you so much. They all know you. They all know who you are. What look do you see in their eyes? What is it? Can you see it? Now I want you to notice how you feel when you're looking at them. When you're seeing the way they see you, the compassion that they are offering you. I want you to imagine what that feels like in your body. Can you feel it? For me, it feels like love. It feels like somebody is holding me. It feels like I'm safe. It feels like I'm okay. Nothing has gone wrong. And even as I'm recording this right now, I have my eyes closed and I'm imagining my circle of people. And I can feel the love that they have for me. Now, what do I do with that love? What do I do with that compassion? I allow myself to feel it. And then I practice giving it to myself. I practice giving myself that gift of love and that gift of looking at myself through that lens of non-judgment, through compassion, through, of course, you're struggling with this now. Of course, this is coming up now, and there's nothing wrong. Nothing has gone wrong. I can hear them saying to me, this just means that you're ready for the next level of growth, and you are being shown what that next level is, and that it's a loving thing, that I'm being shown that it's not meant to punish. It's meant to open me up to my own capacity, to my own greatness, to how much further I can grow if I just surrender to self-compassion and open up to some of the things that might just be ready for some healing. Maybe I wasn't ready before. So I want you to pay attention to how your body feels when you're listening to this. What does it feel like? Can you feel some of that love? Can you feel some of that self-compassion? How can you create more of that for yourself? It really, just like meditation or an exercise routine These are practices that take practice, right? It takes practice. It takes repetition. It takes bringing your mind to this place over and over again where you are creating for yourself this place of calm, this place of safety, this place of allowing your wisdom to shine through, not your emotions, but your wisdom, that you are letting your wisdom lead. Now, I want to end with this. Cultivating self-compassion is an act of courage. It takes courage to be willing to go in and open the door to painful things. It takes courage to see yourself. It calls for a commitment. It calls for determining that this is something worth pushing through. It is worth the work. It's worth it because on the other side of self-compassion is allowing yourself to grow, allowing yourself to see yourself as you really are. And this will help guide you as you continue to move forward in your own healing. That's what I have for you today, my friends. I hope that this is helpful to you. Let's all go practice being a little more self-compassionate, okay? It's worth it. This will heal. The self-compassion and learning how to hold space for yourself when you are hurting will help you to heal and to move forward. All right, thank you so much, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Heal from Infidelity podcast. If you would like to be kept in the know about upcoming free classes, new podcast episodes, and other ways of working with me, go subscribe to my weekly email. You can subscribe at AndreaGiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. Again, it's AndreaGiles.com/lies-about-infidelity/. I will see you next time.